Take a breath. In this single simple act, you have inhaled a world that is invisible, ancient, and teeming with life. Every second, unseen by the human eye, trillions upon trillions of microscopic organisms move through the air we breathe, the surfaces we touch, and the very bodies we inhabit. This is the microbiome of the planet, a silent, omnipresent empire of bacteria, fungi, archaea, and viruses. Their numbers defy comprehension. There are more microbes on Earth than stars in the known universe. They are in the deepest oceans, the highest clouds, and encrusting every surface of our modern world. We are not just surrounded by this world, we are a part of it. Each of us is a walking, talking ecosystem. The human body is home to an estimated 38 trillion bacterial cells, a number that roughly equals our own. Most of these microscopic passengers are simply along for the ride. They are commensal organisms, living on our skin and in our airways, neither helping nor harming, merely existing in a state of neutral truce. They are the silent majority of our personal microbial cloud. Some are more than just passengers. They are essential for life. Within our gut, a complex and vibrant community of bacteria works in symbiosis with our own cells. They are our partners. They break down food we cannot digest, releasing vital nutrients. They synthesize essential vitamins, like B12 and K, that our bodies need to function. And crucially, they help to educate and calibrate our immune system from the moment we are born, teaching it to distinguish between friend and foe. Without these microscopic allies, our health would collapse. But within this vast invisible world, there exists another class of entity. They are not truly alive, yet they are not inert. They are the planet's most perfect parasites, viruses. A virus is a masterpiece of minimalist design, a fragment of genetic code, either DNA or RNA, wrapped in a protective protein shell. It has no cells, no metabolism, no means of reproducing on its own. A virus is pure information with a single, relentless purpose: to make more of itself. To do so, it must become a hijacker, a biological pirate. It must find a living cell and commandeer its machinery, turning the cell into a factory for manufacturing new viruses, often destroying its host in the process. And some of these entities, viruses and their pathogenic bacterial counterparts, have shaped the course of human history. They are the agents of plague and pestilence, the unseen antagonists in our species' long story. The bacterium Yersinia pestis, carried by fleas on rats, unleashed the Black Death in the 14th century, wiping out as much as half of Europe's population and shattering the continent's social and economic foundations. In the 20th century, a novel influenza virus sparked the 1918 pandemic, killing more people in 2 years than the First World War did in 4. These events are not mere footnotes. They are seismic shocks that have redirected the flow of civilization, spurred scientific discovery, and left an indelible mark on our collective memory. Today, our world is more interconnected than ever before. A person can have breakfast in London, lunch in New York, and dinner in Los Angeles. This unprecedented mobility has fueled economic growth and cultural exchange, but it has also created the perfect superhighways for infectious diseases. A virus that emerges in a remote village can reach any major city in the world in under 36 hours. From the predictable march of seasonal influenza to the terrifying eruption of a global pandemic, infectious diseases remain one of the most powerful and disruptive forces affecting human health in modern society. Despite the marvels of modern medicine, antibiotics, advanced life support, and a deeper understanding of biology than at any point in history, our vulnerability persists. Viruses, in particular, present a formidable challenge. They mutate rapidly, evolving to evade our defenses. They are a moving target. Because they use our own cells to replicate, it is incredibly difficult to design drugs that can stop them without causing significant harm to us. As a result, viruses still infect billions of people each year and cause millions of deaths worldwide. They are a constant simmering threat that can, and does, boil over. But we are not defenseless. We possess one of the most sophisticated defense systems known in nature, the human immune system. And we have a powerful tool that can augment it: science. understanding our adversary is the first step to defeating it. This documentary explores the intricate science behind flu and other viral infections. We will journey into the microscopic realm to understand what these pathogens are and the ingenious strategies they use to spread. We will witness the breathtaking cellular arms race that unfolds every time a virus enters the body and see how the immune system fights back with a complex and coordinated response. Finally, we will look to the horizon, exploring how cutting-edge science, from rapid vaccine development and genetic sequencing to artificial intelligence, is fundamentally changing our ability to detect, track, and prevent the next global outbreak. The battle between humanity and the virus is ancient, but the weapons are changing. The stakes have never been higher. In the vast tapestry of existence, there are entities that challenge our very definition of life. They are not quite living, yet far from inert. They are ancient, ubiquitous, and profoundly influential. These enigmatic agents exist at the very edge of life. They are viruses. The most abundant biological entities on our planet, they inhabit every conceivable ecosystem, from the deepest oceans to the highest clouds. For every living organism, there are countless viruses that have co-evolved alongside them for billions of years. Yet, despite their prevalence, they remain a source of scientific fascination and debate. The central question, are they truly alive? To understand this, we must first understand what they are not. Viruses are not cells. Unlike bacteria, fungi, or the cells that make up our own bodies, they lack the complex machinery essential for life. They have no nucleus, no mitochondria to generate energy, and no ribosomes to build proteins. They are fundamentally acellular structures, stripped down to the bare essentials. Because they are not cells, they do not perform the functions we associate with living organisms. They don't breathe or eat. They lack any metabolic pathways. Outside of a host, a virus is as inert as a grain of sand, a dormant particle, waiting. And most critically, they cannot reproduce on their own. This is the defining characteristic that places them in a biological gray area. While all other life forms can replicate themselves, a virus is completely powerless to do so alone. It is an obligate intracellular parasite, meaning its entire existence is dependent on hijacking the life force of another. So, what is a virus? At its core, a virus is a package of genetic information, either DNA or RNA, wrapped in a protective protein shell called a capsid. This genetic blueprint contains all the instructions needed to create more viruses. The capsid's job is to shield this precious cargo and help the virus attach to a new host. Some viruses have an additional layer. They carry a lipid envelope, which is essentially a piece of membrane stolen from the last host cell they infected. This stolen cloak helps the virus evade the host's immune system, acting as a form of camouflage. This total reliance on a host starkly separates viruses from bacteria. While some bacteria can cause disease, they are fully functional single-celled organisms. They can source their own energy, grow, and reproduce independently. Unlike bacteria, viruses are completely dependent on the cells they infect for every aspect of their replication cycle. They are the ultimate biological pirates. The process begins with a chance encounter. A virus drifts until it collides with a compatible cell. Its surface proteins are shaped like keys that fit specific locks, receptor proteins on the surface of our cells. This lock-and-key mechanism ensures that a virus only infects certain cell types, like how the influenza virus primarily targets cells in our respiratory tract. Upon binding, the virus gains entry. Some are engulfed by the cell, while others fuse their envelope with the cell membrane, directly injecting their contents inside. Once its genetic material is released into the cell's cytoplasm, the heist begins. The cell, unaware of the invasion, reads the viral genes as if they were its own. They hijack human cells and turn them into factories. The cell's own machinery, its ribosomes, enzymes, and raw materials, is repurposed. Instead of performing its normal duties, the cell is forced to execute the virus's commands. First, to mass-produce viral proteins for new capsids, and second, to make thousands of copies of the viral genome. These components then spontaneously self-assemble into new, complete virus particles. The cell becomes a vessel, swollen with an army of viral clones. This process continues until the cell's resources are exhausted, producing thousands of copies from a single initial infection. Finally, the new viruses must escape to continue the cycle. This exit can be brutal. Some viruses replicate until the host cell bursts open, a process called lysis, which kills the cell and releases all the new virions at once. Others use a more subtle approach, budding from the cell surface one by one, wrapping themselves in a piece of its membrane as they leave. This allows the host cell to survive longer, continuing to serve as a factory for the virus. But the story doesn't end there. During this rapid replication, viruses make mistakes. The enzymes that copy viral genomes are often sloppy, especially those that copy RNA. Unlike our own cells, which have sophisticated proofreading mechanisms, many viruses lack this quality control. This leads to a high rate of mutation. Influenza viruses, for example, are RNA viruses that mutate rapidly. This constant genetic change, known as antigenic drift, alters the virus's surface proteins. These are the very proteins our immune system learns to recognize and attack. When they change, the virus becomes a moving target. This constant genetic change allows them to evade immunity. The antibodies you produced from a previous infection or vaccination may no longer recognize the new, mutated version of the virus. Your immune system is left fighting last year's war. This is why you can get the flu multiple times, and it is precisely why flu vaccines must be updated every year. Global surveillance networks constantly monitor which influenza strains are circulating, predicting which ones are most likely to become dominant. The annual vaccine is our best attempt to match this ever-shifting viral landscape. This relentless cycle of mutation and adaptation is the virus's greatest strength and our greatest public health challenge. Bacteria and viruses are often grouped together, but they are fundamentally different. Bacteria are living, single-celled organisms. Many are beneficial, helping digest food, regulate immunity, and protect against pathogens. Viruses, however, are obligate parasites. They cause disease by destroying cells, triggering inflammation, and overwhelming the immune system. Antibiotics can kill bacteria. They do nothing against viruses. This misunderstanding has fueled antibiotic resistance, one of the greatest public health threats of the 21st century. When we speak of the flu, we're not referring to a single static enemy. We're talking about influenza, a vast and ancient family of viruses, a relentless shapeshifter that has plagued humanity for centuries. There are 4 main types: influenza A, B, C, and D. While C causes mild illness and D primarily affects cattle, it is types A and B that are responsible for the seasonal epidemics we know and dread. At its core, the influenza virus is a marvel of malicious efficiency. Its genetic material isn't a single continuous strand of RNA, but is instead broken into 8 distinct segments. This segmented genome is the secret to its incredible adaptability. It allows different strains of the virus to swap genetic information with ease, a process that fuels its constant evolution and keeps our immune systems perpetually on the back foot. The global impact is staggering. Each year, as the seasons turn, influenza viruses sweep across the globe. They infect up to 1 billion people. That's more than the entire population of Europe and North America combined. The result is an annual wave of illness that causes between 3 to 5 million cases of severe disease. For many, the flu is a miserable but temporary inconvenience. But for the most vulnerable among us, it is a life-threatening event. Globally, seasonal influenza claims the lives of up to 650,000 people every year. The highest risk falls upon older adults, whose aging immune systems, a phenomenon known as immunosenescence, struggle to mount an effective defense. Young children with their still developing immune systems are also at severe risk. So are pregnant women and individuals of any age with chronic health conditions like asthma, diabetes, or heart disease. For them, a bout of influenza isn't just a respiratory illness. It's a systemic shock that can trigger catastrophic complications. The virus's primary assault targets our respiratory system. Using a surface protein called hemagglutinin, or HA, the virus latches onto cells lining our nose, throat, and lungs. Once inside, it hijacks the cell's machinery, turning it into a factory for producing thousands of new virus particles. This process destroys the host cell, leading to widespread damage of the delicate lung tissue. This cellular destruction triggers a powerful inflammatory response. The body's defenses rush to the site of infection, but in severe cases, this response can spiral out of control into what is known as a cytokine storm. The very system designed to protect us ends up causing more damage, leading to acute respiratory distress syndrome and organ failure. Furthermore, the flu acts as a Trojan horse. By damaging the respiratory tract and suppressing parts of the immune system, it opens the door for deadly secondary bacterial infections. Bacteria like Streptococcus pneumonia can invade the weakened lungs, causing a severe pneumonia that is often the ultimate cause of death in fatal flu cases. But what makes influenza a persistent and unpredictable threat are two key evolutionary mechanisms: antigenic drift and antigenic shift. Antigenic drift is a slow, steady accumulation of minor genetic mutations. These small changes alter the shape of the HA and NA proteins, making it harder for our immune system to recognize the virus from one year to the next. This is why we need a new flu vaccine every season. Antigenic shift, however, is a far more dramatic and dangerous event. It occurs when an influenza A virus acquires entirely new HA or NA proteins. This often happens in an animal host, like a pig or a bird, when different virus strains mix their segmented genomes. During RNA replication, the viral RNA-dependent RNA polymerase rapidly copies the genome without proofreading, creating frequent mutations that drive antigenic drift. The result is a novel virus to which most of the human population has no pre-existing immunity. This is the recipe for a pandemic. This is precisely what happened in 1918 with the devastating Spanish flu, which infected a third of the world's population. It happened again with the Asian flu in 1957, the Hong Kong flu in 1968, and most recently, the H1N1 swine flu pandemic in 2009. Each event was a stark reminder that while we fight the seasonal flu every year, we must always remain vigilant for the emergence of the next great pandemic strain. The question is not if, but when. Not if. Viruses spread through multiple pathways: airborne droplets, aerosols, direct contact, contaminated surfaces, body fluids. Once inhaled, viruses attach to receptors on human cells, often using specific molecular keys. For example, influenza binds to sialic acid receptors in the respiratory tract. SARS viruses bind to AC2 receptors found throughout the lungs and blood vessels. Transmission is driven not only by biology, but by behavior, urban density, travel, and climate. The immune system is the body's defense network. The first line of defense is innate immunity, physical barriers, inflammation, and immune cells that respond immediately. If the virus penetrates deeper, adaptive immunity activates. Specialized cells recognize viral antigens and produce antibodies. Memory cells remain for years, sometimes for life, allowing faster responses upon reinfection. However, some viruses mutate faster than immune memory can adapt. This arms race between viruses and immunity never ends. Not all immune systems respond equally. Age, nutrition, sleep, stress, metabolic health, and chronic inflammation all influence vulnerability to infection. People with insulin resistance, obesity, cardiovascular disease, or immune suppression experience more severe viral outcomes. This explains why modern pandemics disproportionately affect societies with high rates of metabolic disease. Health is not just exposure, it is resilience. Decades of research confirm several powerful protective factors. Vaccination remains the most effective way to prevent severe viral disease. Not perfect, but life-saving. Sleep regulates immune cell production. Even one night of sleep deprivation reduces immune defense. Nutrition, especially protein, micronutrients, and fiber, supports immune signaling. Physical activity improves immune surveillance. Sunlight regulates vitamin D, which modulates immune balance. Simple behaviors can dramatically reduce disease severity. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming infectious disease control. AI models now predict outbreaks, analyze viral mutations, and accelerate vaccine development. Digital surveillance systems detect patterns before hospitals overflow. mRNA technology allows vaccines to be designed in weeks, not years. The future of infectious disease control is predictive, personalized, and global. Viruses are not invaders from another world. They are part of Earth's biological system older than humanity itself. The goal is not eradication. It is balance. By understanding microbes, strengthening immunity, and applying science responsibly, humanity can coexist with the invisible world not in fear, but with knowledge. The next pandemic is not a question of if, but when. Preparedness is the difference between survival and catastrophe. If you enjoyed this video, please support us by following the Life Lens channel. It's a free way to help us create more science-based content.